Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the co-founder of Digital Leadership Associates. I'm also the author of the book, Social Selling, Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. With me today, I've got Scott Lewis from KickFactory. Before we get into the discussion, Scott, tell everybody where they can get hold of you.
Yeah, people can connect with us online at twitter.com/KickFactory Inc. Or you can connect with us on LinkedIn if you just search for KickFactory, or you can find us on the web at kickfactory.com.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Now, your website says, you're social selling.
Correct.
And so when I first went and looked at your website, I was kind of expecting some sort of tool that connected to people on and got you followers or something like that. But you're not like that at all.
Not at all.
And then when we had a conversation, because it may surprise people, but these are all of these conversations are all pre-prepared. That you're actually an artificial intelligence company.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, we are an AI company, and our goal is to find hand raisers, people that are raising their hands saying they need products and services on Instagram and Twitter, and we're connecting brands with them and in a way that is engaging, but also, kind of takes the traditional digital marketing approach of driving people to landing pages, pushing for conversions, and creating new customers for our clients.
So one of the things that we talked about was that when we in the preparation was that your feeling, or certainly what the people, your customers, they're seeing their customers moving away from search.
Yeah, and I don't want to be alarmist about that and say search is dead or anything like that.
No, we're not saying that.
It isn't true. But what we're seeing is a big shift right now where people are questioning and asking for information from their networks, things that I would say I would search for. How many calories in a Big Mac? Well, it seems like McDonald's.com would have the best information for how many calories in a Big Mac. But for some reason, we ask our networks, and I see if my mom has that answer, or whomever wants to respond to that, or how late is Lifetime Fitness open, or just questions that you would think search would handle, because the brand would want you would be pushed to the brand page as opposed to waiting for your network to supply you that answer.
But I think that we've kind of moved on. If we take search, 10 years ago, you'd go to, and you'd put Bruce Springsteen CD in. Mm-hmm. Actually, everybody now knows we just go to Amazon for that, or, whatever, wherever, Discogs or wherever it is that we want to get that from. So I think that we're far more mature in the way that we actually search. And certainly that's something that came out in my book, was the fact that there's a whole generation of people, and most of those are below about 35, which grew up with text messaging, which meant that they would text people and go, when do we meet at the bar or the pub?
Right.
And, 8:00. And then we've got more sophisticated. We've got WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups and stuff. So we're more used to asking questions of those things.
Correct.
And certainly one of the things that came out with you was, in discussion with you, was that what people are doing is something happens and immediately they go and update their status.
Yeah, that's a good point about KickFactory. So we're really in the business of micro moments. We are seeing a shift in the way that people just interact with the internet, where, for example, I work for Sears here in the States. I work for the Sears Automotive Group. When someone gets a flat tire on their car, before they begin figuring out how to search, or before they begin figuring out how to repair and fix the flat tire so they can get on their way to work, they're posting a picture of themselves next to the tire saying,
"Selfie,
this is a terrible way to start the day. Look at my crappy life." Yeah. But they're letting the world know. We know that brands who are going to win kind of in this next phase of marketing are going to take that as an opportunity, not just to market to them, but to really engage that person and say, we would love to help you put your life back together. But we also sell car tires, and we also repair car tires. And we want to make sure that as you're considering what brand you're going to be, repairing your tire with, because it's super important that you go to work today, that you consider Sears Automotive Group, or, pick the company, that we work with. Everybody wants to be part of that consideration set. And we know that if I can get you before you've done your search, that's going to be the cheapest customer acquisition for you in the long run.
And you'll probably even build some brand recognition.
Absolutely.
Because one of the things that I've got down on my notes when I talk to you is this is about personalization. Now, I thought you were immediately going to talk about some sort of email marketing type thing, which I get so many emails a day that I don't have enough time to delete them all.
Yeah.
But this is, I see this certainly in my Facebook feed, and it may be because I live in a social media bubble, that you do give a running commentary, not in a boring way, but in a kind of a interesting, funny way. Because if you got a flat tire, certainly from my perspective, if I got a flat tire, I would be annoyed. Right. But I'd also want to make a bit of a joke about it.
It's strange to us, the stream of consciousness that people post on social media, and that just gives a good savvy marketer the opportunity to profile that person. But again, it's also the opportunity to engage and really help and add value to the life of that person, and that's going to create brand endearment as well as customers for that brand.
Right. So how do you? Because that must be quite difficult to reach out to do that. I can understand that you're listening. And you can hear those things. I've just hit somebody, or I've got a flat tire, or I've got a flat battery, and I can see that there must be lots of those out on social media that people can find and go, right, let's engage with that person, but without standing up then going, hey, buy me, I'm 20% off.
Right. So let's take like here in the States, wireless, the wireless cell phone space it's a really, really big deal here. I assume it is there too, but there are 10 to 12 million tweets a day that are related to cell phones and cell phone accessories and cell phone service and all these things. And
10 million.
Yeah, 10 million, between 10 and 12, just depending on the day of the week. And what could you possibly do with 10 to 12 million tweets a day? That's just, it's more information than you could possibly read. And so our AI, what it does is it's looking at every single one of those Instagram messages and every single one of those tweets. And it's looking for opportunities for our brand, for the clients that we're working with, for them to engage, and it's scoring them. And it's saying, what is the likelihood that this person is in market based on everything I've seen to this point in time? And, for us, that could be anywhere from 9 to 15,000 tweets a day that are respondable, let's call it, actual engagement opportunities that aren't song lyrics or movie quotes or just people talking, and just kind of sharing everything that's in their brain. But genuine people that would actually consider switching a phone, buying a device, adding a service, whatever the case may be, where they're communicating real needs and real desires. And we believe, for the clients that we're working with, we want them to be engaging, right away in that moment, because that's the greatest likelihood that they're going to shift the consideration set that the person is going to choose them.
So you're analyzing the sentiment of the tweet, and you're making a view on buying intent in terms of that particular tweet.
Yeah, it's sentiment plus the history of people who have talked like this in the past. Okay. That's where our NLP is going in and separating that signal from the noise there. And it's constantly learning, constantly adapting. But one of the other pieces about KickFactory is, AI does 99% of the heavy lifting. There's no way we could look at 10 million records a day. There's no way a human could look at 10 million records a day. But what we've done is we've taken that AI, and when we have someone who we say is in market, we pair the right reply and the right landing page with that. And then I have a team of community managers that then get involved to do the final evaluation to, one, make sure that the person's in market, and two, to make sure that, what the brand is about to say to the customer, it's conversationally appropriate and it's engaging and it's good. And so they click the send button and those messages go out into the world. Then it's not an automated marketing program. It's semi-automated.
So it's in terms of it's 99% up to the point, and then there's human intervention, and they say, I can understand that, and this, and then we're going to match that with a response to that.
Correct, and all of that is performance driven, on our end. But the goal is to be both personally engaging, and the the predictable best possible outcome.
And for our audience, what are the sort of things that you're going back with in terms of, because I'm guessing it's fairly low, it's non-salesy in the way that your approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a big principle that we've learned where we mirror the emotion back to the person. We want to, before we ask you to take an action, we want to empathize with you and recognize that we've had a flat tire too. We've had our cell phone battery die. We've had, we've been hungry for food, just all of those sorts of things. And you want to make the brand very personable, and you want to make it feel like you're caring for the person rather than just kind of carpet bombing them with a marketing message. And we find that that's where that has the greatest results in terms of click-through rates, conversion rates, and then just kind of the back end sentiment numbers as you think about what this is doing for the brand itself.
Okay, and then you wait for a response. I'm laughing because I can imagine there's a number of brands thinking, "Wow, hey, we can put if there's someone's got a flat tire, then they can sit down and read our white paper on why our tires are great, why they wait for the tow truck to arrive." But hopefully they won't be in jobs for long. But well said. So yeah, I can understand you that someone posts something and you actually empathize, and then you wait for a response to come back, and then you're hopefully into some level of conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly coaching the brands that we're working with to, everybody's got a buy 3 tires, get 1 free Memorial Day sale, or 4th of July sale. Like, everybody's got that. If you want to advertise that, you should just run ads, and that's okay. Ads are great. This is, we don't do ads. We do personal engagements. That's why we're a personal engagement platform. So it's a different way of connecting with your customer. And we believe that if you've had 10 other ways to connect with your customer and they're still not buying your car tires, then you need an 11th. And this might be that opportunity to reach them. And we're pretty proud of what
you're seeing that. Then what you're seeing is an engagement further up the sales funnel in terms of, because they'll probably fix the tire, and there's actually probably a distance. I've driven around. I actually had a 2-week holiday in France with a flat tire in my back because I couldn't boot, or trunk as you call it, because I couldn't be bothered to change it. And then I got home and realized I've actually driven like 3,000 miles around France, and I could have been really trapped. But there can be a difference in time between getting the puncture and actually fixing it. So you do have time in terms of or the tow truck arriving.
And that's why we say, consideration set is really important, because you are going to fix that tire. That you might fix that today, you might fix that tomorrow, you might fix that in a week. But the reality is if you're a brand that's selling tires or tire repair or pizza, or you're selling cell phone service or whatever it is, you need to be part of that consideration set, and making that extra effort and reaching out one-to-one to that customer in their moment of need is certainly going to be memorable for that customer. And that's what we're seeing in the results for the brands that we're working with.
And you're seeing then, when there's a discussion, people actually acting and actually going, mm-hmm. I love this. I mean, because some people I think may feel there's a little bit of a big brother thing going on, or in their hour of need, do they kind of put that thing to one side?
Yeah. Think about it this way. So that is probably the number one question I get asked is people will say, well, like, yeah, gosh, isn't this like Big Brother? Or like, don't you feel like this is spammy? The reality is the data for us just shows that it's not. We get so many people that reply to us and say, thank you, this is really cool. Like, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. I would never reply to an email from Amazon where they offered me a television with a thank you for sending this to me, Amazon, because I may not be in the market anymore for it. Everything that we're doing is about what's happening to you right now, what's important to you in that micro moment in life. And again, this is why we coach the brands we're working with to, before you ask a person to take an action, make sure you've acknowledged them as a human being. Make sure you acknowledge that the situation in their life that's happening right now, it could be a really good thing. It could be a really bad thing. It doesn't matter what the thing is. Make sure that you've acknowledged that is something that is going on in their life, and you want to help them through that. That's how you become maybe the number one player or a big part of their consideration set of how they're going to put their life back together, or celebrate with them in some way.
Yeah,
on the positive side.
Okay, and how do you mean by that?
Yeah, so like we did a campaign for Dick's Sporting Goods here. I guess that ended about a month ago with the NBA Finals, where we represented both the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors, and the whole goal of the campaign was to find people who were really excited about the Cavs making the finals, find people who are really excited about Kevin Durant becoming the MVP, find people that were excited about what was going on there, celebrate with them in a way that is like, hey, we're super excited about the Cavs making the finals too, or can you believe the Golden State Warriors won again? This is such an amazing feeling. Congratulations to you, Mr. and Mrs. Fan. Make sure when you buy your championship gear, make sure you get your hat at Dick's. We're the official supplier of Golden State Warriors t-shirts. And so you have this moment where you're able to celebrate with the fan, and you're able to give them that kind of virtual high five, but you're doing it in the context of what they've said, not just the blast marketing message that you're going to see, or maybe the search result, that you're going to see where everybody knows you can buy your championship hats at Dick's. Like that's just a normal thing here in the States. They're a great company to work with. But it's the fact that they took that extra step to celebrate with those consumers, and to celebrate, to not just message them, but to message them in such a way that is, giving them a high five, that produced some really good results for them.
And I think that, well, my feeling is that certainly in social media is that so there's a quote in the film Spinal Tap, which is there's a thin line between being clever and stupid. and I think certainly from a branding perspective on social media, that I think people are starting to understand that the Oreo tweet and stuff like that, that brands can actually have a conversation on, and actually people do want to engage with it, and it's not spammy. And if for any particular reason a prospect or a customer is uncomfortable, they just won't engage. They're in control. That's
right. And think back to one of the first questions that we talked about of like, how many calories are in a Big Mac, or how many, how late is the Lifetime Fitness near me open? Brands are being pushed out of that conversation. It's their responsibility to go back in and re-engage, because that's their customer base. Like, you're in business to serve those people, and you need to go to where they're at and to where they're talking about you. You can't wait for them to come to you. Those days are gone. And now this is an open world where we're all dialoguing together. And you have to go engage them.
Because brands used to have a dialogue with people. They were used to having customers, mainly because they had big sales forces. Right. And then what we did is that we put these websites in between the customer and the brand. We fired all the salespeople, and we said, right, okay, Mr. Salesperson, you would prefer to deal with a self-service. But we lost that connection. And I think certainly what I see from brands is that they still actually have a difficulty jumping in, right, and realizing that they're better off jumping in and having conversations. And if they make a mistake, they make a mistake.
Right. But you're making the right efforts, and you're going after people correctly, because, again, we constantly are coaching brands of, it's not just about selling product. Product will be sold when you've engaged people rightly. Just the same way that when I talk to someone about what we're doing at KickFactory, I'm not like, you need to buy this. You have to do this. Like, this is good and right for your customer base.
We'll come back to that in a moment, Scott, because I'm actually going to mention that. But the biggest risk for all brands is actually not being part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
And actually standing there with a megaphone saying, buy my stuff, because we're not interested.
Right.
So coming back to that point, see, one of the things about being salesy or not salesy is that actually everybody's just watched an advert for KickFactory. That's what this video has been with this conversation. But I know that, you know that, and the people that they're probably now just switched off. But the example is what you've done is if you've explained and provided an example of how artificial intelligence works in a social selling environment, in a social media business. And oh, by the way, there's KickFactory, go to our website. You didn't come on and say, we're KickFactory, we're the best in the world. And we talked, and to use that cliche, I think we provided some value.
That's right. I sure hope so.
Sorry, I didn't want to be that blatant in terms of saying, talking about what you're doing. I think is really interesting for the audience, because and there's a lot of people that saying artificial intelligence isn't here yet.
Yeah,
and it is.
Yeah, I was on a podcast the other day where we talked about that too. It's sort of here. It's not entirely here. You still have to know what to do with the data. You can have big mounds of data, but if you don't know what to do with it, or you don't know how to make it actionable, it's just noise. And that's kind of like what we see when I talk about, there's 10 million cell phone tweets a day. Well, what do you do with those? And there is a sliver of those people where there's something actionable. And I bet there's other smart people in your audience who could find 10 more ways to make those things actionable. And I hope that they do. But this is the way that we found to make it actionable for a brand and make it worthwhile and make it worth engaging, both from a business perspective, but as well as from a brand and kind of moving their company forward on something other than just the financials.
It's been really interesting, Scott. Thank you for your time. Do you want to remind everybody again where they can get hold of you? And
on Twitter we're at KickFactory Inc. On LinkedIn you can search for KickFactory. You'll find myself, our employees, our profiles. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/KickFactory, and you can find myself on Twitter at Scott Allen Lewis.
Brilliant.
And obviously on the web at kickfactory.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, it's been really interesting. Thank you very much. Great case study.
Thank you, Tim.
And a great insight into how people are actually using social as a way of selling.
Cool. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Cheers. Have a good day.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.